a little bit more about centre of gravity and stability. So if you have a wee look here, the centre of gravity of a regular object acts in its middle. And we always draw a line from the centre of gravity, or it's called the line of action. And that line of action always acts towards the middle of the earth, or in this case, the bottom of your page usually. If that line of action falls through the outside edges of the base, then that object is stable. So if we place that object onto a slope and we put in the centre of gravity and draw a line of action down to the bottom of the page, and that still falls within its base, then that's stable. However, if you make the object taller, you're putting more of its weight up to the top of it, and therefore its centre of gravity is much higher. And we'll put it about there. And if whenever you draw your arrow towards the bottom of your page, it falls well outside the base of the object, and so that has got an overall moment, and that's going to pull it over. So the taller the object, the less stable it is. So to increase stability, we can do two things. We can increase the size of the base, and the second thing is we can have more weight at the bottom. Now, having more weight at the bottom, all that's doing is to lower the centre of gravity. So if you have something like a vase like that, and it's got a big round bit at the bottom, and possibly a very heavy base like that there, then your centre of gravity is well low down there. And if you put flowers into it, then we'll just give you a few flowers here to cheer up your day. If you put flowers into it, that's going to raise the centre of gravity, but if you've got a very heavy base on it, that means that you have got a fairly low centre of gravity, no matter how many flowers you put in there. And you'll see very often that vases are very often designed like this shape here. But whenever you see that, even though they're tall and they're maybe not that wide at the bottom, they'll actually have quite a heavy base, especially if you look at some of the crystal vases, they have very heavy bases. The other option for a vase like that, sometimes vases are this shape, and that's really just, it's a nice look, or it's aesthetically pleasing. What they do then is they put a pedestal on it to give it a wide base like that there. And it's also very heavy, and that increases, widens the base, decreases the centre of gravity, and makes it more stable. The last thing is just the experiment to measure the centre of gravity of an irregular shape, and very often we call it a flat piece of cards called a lamina. So what you do is you take your shape and you put a hole in the edge of it somewhere. And then you put a pin in through that hole and attach it to something and allow the card to hang freely. So that make a hole at the edge, allow to hang freely, and the next thing you do then is that you hang a plumb line on. Now, plumb line is a line or a weight which acts towards the centre of the earth. Once it'll give you a perfectly vertical line. So if we hang a plumb line onto the pin here, it's going to hang down through there. So you hang your plumb line on, and you mark a line along where it passes. So mark the line. And then you take your lamina off and you re-hang it at a different place round the edge somewhere. So make it like that there then, like that. Okay, and you've already got your line drawn here. I'm going to draw it in green. That's this line here, of course. So you do the whole procedure again. You put your pin in, hang it up, allow it to hang freely, and you mark a second line. So you hang at a different place, usually around the edge somewhere. Draw a second line, where the plumb line passes through. And then the last point, very importantly, the centre of gravity is the point where those two lines cross. And this is your experiment to determine the centre of gravity of an irregular object.